We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the P-LotPodcast. John here once again with Michael. It's Sunday morning in the Delaware Valley. It's finally like chilly out. You know, we're getting those fall vibes. And yeah, man.
Only for a little bit. Next week it'll be hot again.
Yeah, man. Hockey, basketball are just started. Sixers had their home opener earlier this week, and you know, there's already BS with that. Flyers, big win yesterday. Mitch Kov, I think, looks like the real deal. 9 points in 8 games. I mean, what else can you ask for from, you know, a teenager playing hockey? You know, I don't know what else you can ask for. And Birds played a big game today at 1 o'clock against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Eagles have not beaten the Cincinnati Bengals in 24 years. Granted, they play them once every 3 years, but
4, right?
4 years, yeah, 4 years, and there's 2 ties in there, which is
bizarre.
The only 2 ties I've ever seen the Eagles have personally, which happens to be against the same team that they don't even regularly play. And then we got the Phillies playing golf right now in Florida. You got Kyle Schwarber on College Game Day.
Bryce Harper on Big Noon Kickoff.
Yeah, you know,
they're getting after it.
It's great, you know, with the Phillies that, you know, they're
we don't need to talk about
playing right now.
We don't need to talk about the Phillies.
Yeah, so
not the Phillies.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of go through. We call this we call this beginning segment quick hitters. Sixers. What a surprise, Michael! The NBA and most notably Adam Silver has a bone to pick with the Sixers again for Joel Embiid. The Sixers not accurately reporting his injury status.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA is very annoying. Like, they pick on the Sixers a lot. Like, they pay a lot of attention to a team that doesn't win anything, unfortunately. And, like, I don't know. It feels like you could spend your time elsewhere. Like, personally, what the Clippers did with Kawhi Leonard, I think, is a lot worse.
I was just about to say, like,
the Clippers might get the belt, man.
Dude, Stephen A. Smith said that Kawhi Leonard's like the worst like mega star in like professional sports history.
Yeah, Kawhi's an interesting, very, very interesting player. Like, I think it's Embiid with like better PR. They're very similar careers. Obviously, Embiid has been more dominant of a regular season player, but Kawhi has the one Toronto playoff run that was huge, and then obviously was a key cog in his first championship with the Spurs, Finals MVP there as well. But you know, very, very injured guy. Like, someone posed the question: Paul George and Kawhi Leonard spent 5 seasons together in the Clippers organization. How many games? It was like, what was their record? And the whole point is like, you're trying to gauge how many games those two played together. 5 seasons of NBA basketball is about 500 games, roughly, including the playoffs. About their record in the regular season did not surpass 200 games. They did not play more than 200 games together in the regular season over the course of 5 years. So Kawhi probably just as hurt as Embiid, but in a way that he doesn't play through it. You know, people say what they want about Embiid, whatever. He plays through a lot of injuries. He consistently does it. He always plays through soreness, and that's why he ends up getting the big injury. And that's why this year is different, supposedly, because the Sixers are telling him and forcing him basically, you're not playing through any physical ailments. We're going to play you in the regular season when you're 100% or as close to it as possible. And we're going to go from there. The league's obviously very upset with that because they want their star players to play. Bill Simmons, or not Bill Simmons, it was actually Nick Wright went on a rant about the NBA, and he was like, I agreed with it. It was like the NBA has more talent now than it ever does, but the product is maybe not as bad as it's ever been, but the product is not as good as it should be with the talent getting better. And he's right. You have a couple issues. One issue being like the regular season doesn't matter as much. And, you see that through star players not playing. You see that the NBA is trying to fix that with things like the in season tournament, which actually kind of worked. It got interest in basketball in November and December. They tried the play in. I don't think that's worked as what they hoped, but like it exists. To I don't know. It's hard. They're trying to do these things like
Yeah, but
investigating
I'm
the
sorry.
Sixers to get Embiid to play, and you know, you're gonna start finding teams if a star player misses a national TV game, all that sort of stuff, and investigations, whatever. It's annoying, but I don't know. I guess it was
Yeah,
always gonna
well, like,
happen.
can I bring up? I just want to bring up something, Michael,
Yeah.
about what you just mentioned with like the in-season tournament and the
Mhm.
product. Adam Silver, since he's became the commissioner, the NBA has tried to make globalize the NBA and wanting to be the biggest like global sport next to soccer, which is the top sport in the world, right?
Yeah. And they probably succeeded more.
Well. Do you know? Like, I don't know. I know you don't really follow soccer all that much, but Michael, like Kylian Mbappe,
Mhm.
like Erling Holland, all those guys don't play every game.
I didn't know that. I had no idea, to be
No,
honest
because
with you.
think about it. Like they play and they only play like two or three, like two times a week. But
Mhm.
guys, they have fitness and guys have to get ready. That's why like Manchester City's so good because they just buy tons of good players because their
So when
star
you're resting,
unit
it's
isn't going
not.
to play every
Yeah.
game together.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So
Yeah.
like because they want to preserve guys for the end of the season. Also, you have Champions League. That's the big tournament,
Mhm.
and you have like league specific cups. So like the basically like the in season tournament for the
Mhm.
NBA is basically like the FA Cup is to the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, that's they literally call it the NBA Cup, like, they want it to be
So
on par.
if you want to have the league become like the Premier League is, and you need to take the good and the bad, is what I'm saying. The problem is, as American sports fans, we're accustomed to things being a certain way. And we also like really lack context for a lot of things. Like Shaq, like Barkley and Shaq ripping Embiid. Dude, Charles Barkley missed a ton of games the last 8 years of his career.
If you look at those 2 guys' games played from, like, their late 20s, like, 28, 29, but really, like, ages 30 and on, they missed at least 10 games a year every single year. Lakers Shaq was playing Lakers Shaq was playing 60 games a season. Like, the first 3 years of Shaq's career with the Lakers, 51 games,
Yeah,
60
because
games,
he was fat
49
and out of
games,
shape.
and then he played, like, upper 7,
He
but he was
used the
playing, like,
regular season to get in
67
shape.
games. Like, it's just those are 2 guys that are just being like old man yelling at clouds because they
Yeah,
were the
and
same
Shaq's like
way.
creeping on Angel Reese too. Did you
Yeah,
see
I
that?
saw that. That was very,
Yeah, it was,
very awful.
and listen, I like Shaq, but
I
like
like Shaq, but Shaq's
I
doing
like
a lot of
Shaq.
things to
I
make
like
me
Shaq
not
when
like
he was
Shaq.
playing, but like, bro, like,
Shaq's doing a lot of things
this
to make
is
me
this
not
would
like him.
be like Tom Brady when he's bitching about quarterbacks just get way too many calls. Like, brother, are you serious?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you
with Bra
kidding me
and,
right
like,
now? The lack of self awareness.
it's the
So
same
that's
it's
it.
the
So
same
that's like
principle.
that's my take on the Sixers. Like they're everyone's. I see people panicking over the first two games. I'm
And I
like,
see everyone pissed, and it's like, I don't know, like, Tyrese Maxey had 2 bad shooting games to start the year that
well,
if he
Tyrese
shoots
Maxey is like the one of the worst whistles in like the
yeah,
end.
oh, he still gets an awful whistle, but he's just not making, like, his threes where if, you know, he's shooting, like, 2 for 12 from 3, where it's like in either game, if he doesn't shoot 2 for 9 and 2 for 12, but instead shoots 4 for 9 and 5 for 12. They, like, win both the games. So, they're close in the games. Maxey's not hitting his shots, so they're losing. Listen, Paul George, we saw that. Like, I excuse me. I told you, I said that I understand that this regular season is going to be a difficult one to get through in terms of enjoyment. Like, it's not gonna be one that you're gonna be crawling to the TV to watch every single game, every minute, whatever, because there are gonna be a lot of games that Embiid's not gonna play. He's saying he's not playing back-to-backs, which, by the way, I don't know why everyone's so damn surprised. He hasn't played back-to-backs consistently in a while, and, like, what would they rather? Him not say he wasn't gonna play back-to-backs and then just not play back-to-backs? Like, would that not cause a stir? Why is him telling us so we know he's not going to, pissing everybody off? Truthfully, because what's gonna happen? We're gonna get to a back-to-back, Embiid's gonna play the front end, and then he's gonna sit the second game, and everyone's like, "I mean, Embiid's gotta sit these back-to-backs," but he tells us it's gonna happen, and now we get, like, all our hopes up or whatever? I don't know,
I mean,
it's
I just
very
don't really care.
strange.
I mean, well, like, I don't know. I just don't. Not say I don't care, but it's
I know
like,
it's a shame that it's turned into, "Oh, just call me in the spring," but especially this year, it's almost feels like that where, yes, when he's playing, when Paul George is playing, when everyone's playing, we're gonna watch, we wanna see what it looks like, we want them to build continuity and play well and not be too low of a seed so you get a bad first round matchup, but truthfully, it all will just come down to if we're rolling into April and we look at Embiid and we're like, "You know what? He looks pretty healthy. He looks fully healthy. He's wearing the knee brace, but we know it's only precaution. Like, he's not on one leg. He doesn't have a torn ligament in his thumb. He's not wearing a mask. He's not dealing with, like, a rib injury or a back problem." Like, what is the most important thing is to just get to the playoffs with him healthy, just to see. And if you take all these measures and you win like 46 games and you're like the 6th seed and he's fully healthy and the same thing happens and you lose or whatever, then you can start, okay, big picture, we need to figure something out, whatever. But until you actually get that fair shot of him fully healthy in the playoffs, I don't know why people have to be so bent out of shape about it and can't just be like, okay, let's do what we need to do to give us that shot.
well, it's because, well, I think this leads into why people are just angry in general. I mean, obviously, the Phillies. I think the Dodgers' complete dismantling of the Mets exposed really just how bad the Phillies performed. But I
Yeah.
also think the Flyers, um, kind of like rough start to the season. Yesterday's win notwithstanding, I know they play today. We're going to see Kolosov and net. Yeah, let's just kind of go over our next topic. I mean, I talked to you about this. I texted you earlier this week about the Flyers. I'm like, dude, I know they were going to suck, but it's like once you actually like see it happen, it's just like it's really frustrating. And this is kind of like my take with the Flyers. Like, and I talked about to people about this. If you're gonna like can torts like mid season because you're not winning games, I think that's BS because they ran back the same team as last year, except with Mitchkov. And we know last year's team was not a good hockey team, regardless.
No, they just overplayed. Like, they were banking on the guys being able to overplay and, like, the system overplay itself again, and just having Matvei Michkov kinda push you into the playoffs.
Well, and then
Or close to it.
like yesterday, um, Couturier, Mitchkov, and Konechny like line produced like up what did Mitchkov have, a +5, a +6
Yeah,
yesterday?
Matvei Michkov had a goal and assist, was like a +4. Konechny had 2 goals and 3 assists. Or sorry, Konechny had 1 goal, 4 assists. Couturier had 3 goals and 2 assists. It was that they were cooking. And it was nice to see. But yeah, like you look at the Flyers and why they are what they are. It's because they're asking guys. Obviously, they don't have like a top flight center. They don't have a number one center on their team. They probably have like 1 to 2 number 2 centers and then some good bottom 6 centers, but you gotta slide everyone up because you don't have, like, a first line center that's very good. And you combine that and you look at a guy like Owen Tippett, for example, which Owen Tippett's a very frustrating player, and I think he's only super frustrating because he's being asked to be a top goal scoring option on
Oh
a
yeah,
team
he's
where
like the Flyers equivalent, like Reese Hoskins.
yeah, where it's like Owen Tippett, if he were, I don't know, like he's supposed to be a guy. I compared Owen Tippett to Alec Boehm actually when I
Wow.
was texting Nick about this, where I was like, he's a good player. Like he's got talent, he's got ability, he can produce good numbers. But when you're asking him to be one of your top goal scorers, top hitter, whatever, he's just not gonna it's just gonna his issues are gonna be so much more magnified where you're asking Owen Tippett to be like that top anchor on the power play to score a bunch of goals, and I'm watching him drill plexiglass often every time he shoots the puck, and it's like, you know, you put him on a team that's supposed to be a contender, whoever whatever team that may be, Vegas, Dallas, even teams like Toronto, they're supposed to be like he wouldn't be on those top lines. He wouldn't be asked to be this elite level goal scorer. He's a guy that's going to be a streaky shooter, which is frustrating in hockey considering how much he shoots. But it's like he's a guy that he'll score over 30 goals in a season, maybe sometimes on a good year push towards 40, but his goals come in bunches. You know, he scores 5 goals in a 7 game stretch, but then he'll go like 2.5 weeks only getting like 1 or 2 goals because the shot's just missing, whatever. Like he's got talent. We see him create those special pretty goals, a little backhand spinorama, a nice deke to get through and picking a corner, but we also see that nice deke to get through and he misses the net by 4 feet, or he's hitting the post, or he's, shooting it right into the goalie's chest because he's trying to like overcorrect. And it's just the inconsistency plays well when you're not being asked to be a top scoring option on a team and you can just be yourself. And when those hot goals stretches come, it's very much appreciated. But when you're being asked to be like basically the team's like number one, number two goal scorer, it's not enough. And like you're just gonna not have score a lot of goals when he's asked to
Right.
be that
And
guy.
I think we all, and I think the real reason they just sucked so far is they just suck on defense, dude. Like
Yeah, like they have like
they're like
Igor
the worst
Zamula.
defensive team in the league. It feels like.
Igor Zamula is unfortunately like he's not a good player and like should not be playing in the NHL, but he's here because like one, he's Michkov's translator, and it's a good thing to have Russian players on the team and in the locker room when your phenom best player is Russian and you want him to feel comfortable. So like that's why he's here, and I understand that that's very frustrating because he I feel terrible, but he unfortunately is very bad. And like he's cost you kind of games almost single-handedly. Like he's on that second power play unit, and that second power play unit gets abused and gives up shorthanded goals. Miscommunication, getting off the ice when you're down a goal late and you lead the empty netter against Washington. He's very bad, but he's there for a reason. And considering what the expectations for this team is, and for what the team are, I don't think they can afford to like totally banish him, especially because Cam York just got hurt. Um,
Well, I mean, I don't really just be like we can't. You can't just pick one guy in the blue line.
no, but then you have everybody else like Risto, who's a bad contract, playing well, hopefully plays well enough that you could trade him um, and kind of reset. You know, Jamie Drysdale, I think is going to start looking a lot better now that he's back with Nick Seeler because when he was with Eric Johnson or whoever was playing alongside of him, it was a struggle because he needs someone that's reliable on the other side of him so he can go and showcase his talents, which is the great skater that he is and creating offense the way he does. But when you have some pylon out there that's not very good and you try to do those things and they don't work out and then you're getting beat and it's ugly and it's messy and that's just what it leads to. But Listen, no one expected the Flyers this year to be some sort of great team. Obviously, we expected it to look a little
Obviously
bit
not, dude.
prettier,
How you
but I
doing?
think as long as we see Matvei Michkov continue to do what he's doing, and I want to see guys like Tyson Forrester take a step, which he struggled early. I want to see Morgan Frost. I know he's old enough. Maybe there's not another step to take, but maybe consistency is that step. Um,
Well, you
and
need
you
Frost
know,
to start playing better because even though the Flyers have what 6 picks in the first 2 rounds in next year's draft,
yeah,
like, um, dude, if Morgan Frost plays well, like he could be like an interesting rental for a contender this year in hockey. And
yeah,
like
it's
the
yeah,
Flyers should. I mean, listen, like I'm okay with them tanking this year. Like a lot of people are just upset. Like I'm okay with them tanking from the perspective of all the guys you intend to build with play lots of minutes and then try to like clear up as much space cap wise, and then next year go out and actually like sign actual free agents, which the Flyers have not done in years.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like just like I'm cool with that. Like that's like a plan. Like is it the best plan? I don't know, but like you have like you kind of at least have like the future superstar on the team, where like the
he is here.
Sixers, it took the Sixers basically 4 years to have their star actually play.
Yeah.
When they were doing the hinky tank, like
Mhm.
that's so. But that it is what it is. So going from awful teams to the two best teams in their sport. World Series baseball, Michael. Last week we didn't know. Last week, did we know who was going to be in the World Series last week when we did a show? I don't think the
No, because the
Yankees
Mets
split.
Dodgers weren't done. The Yankees were done, right?
Oh,
Yankees
the
were
Yankees were
done.
done.
Well, did we do the show? It depends if we did the show Saturday or
We did it
Sunday.
Saturday morning.
So I actually the Yankees
We
were
never
not. I
talked
don't
about it
think the
either.
Yankees were
It was
not
the
done.
abbreviated show.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Because the Yankees were. I don't think the Yankees were done. I think Game 5 was that night, and then the Dodgers had Game 6 on Sunday. Something like that. Maybe they were done. I don't know. But regardless, yeah, Yankees Dodgers. People complaining, "Oh, the 2 biggest team, whatever. No, we don't wanna see." First of all, those people can save it because if you go back in time, what do you consider the big markets in baseball? New
Los
York,
Angeles,
Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia,
Boston,
Boston. Those I would consider are the only 5 big markets. You have some semi-big markets, like
Houston is a big market now.
Houston, I think they turned themselves into that, but I wouldn't consider that still cream of the crop. Like, I'd throw Houston with, like, I don't know. I'd consider something like Atlanta, St. Louis, like, those teams are in that 2nd tier where they care and they're good baseball fans, but it's not the same level of just massive city, that
Well,
actually cares.
Houston actually,
Regardless, my point
yeah.
being is that if you go back in time, and the reason why I wouldn't consider Houston is because Houston only got so big into this because they started being good. It's not like, you could drag and drop the Phillies into any World Series, it's gonna be huge. Drag and drop the Dodgers, it's gonna be huge. The Astros, they had to earn their rapport to be a respected big market baseball city. So with that in mind, if you go back in time, the only since 2008, 2009, there's only been 2 World Series that are 2 big markets on either side. You had the Phillies and Yankees in '09, and you had the Dodgers and Red Sox in 2018. Other than that, pick any year. A lot of the times you'll have one big market, but the other market is a little bit smaller or not on the same sort of
Yeah, like
level.
Mets, Royals.
Mets, Royals, Astros, Nationals, Astros, Braves, uh, Dodgers, Rays, Dodgers, Astros. Like it's close, but it's not there. Cubs, Guardians, like Cleveland. That sort of thing.
Well, we talk about it in like for
Excuse me.
like
San Francisco, like they
we
were
talk
in a
about like
bunch.
hockey, like legacy teams, right?
Yeah,
The Yankees and the Dodgers have a combined like 204 like 30 years of history.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so all that being said, it's not like this happens enough where we have the right to complain about it. It's not like the '80s where this matchup was happening, consistently, and we can complain about it. Like, this is the first time this has happened since
Yeah, dude, this isn't like
1981.
this is not Cavs Warriors
We're
for
exactly, exactly. If we flash forward and we're in 2028 and we're on part 4 of the Shohei Ohtani Dodgers versus the Aaron Judge Yankees, yeah, I'm gonna get sick of it. But until we get to that point, this is entertaining.
well,
You have
no,
the best
well, no,
players in every.
baseball, like no, bro, baseball like needed, uh, I think overall
Yes,
for the health of the sport, they kind of
it's not
need.
a bad thing to have
No,
the
it's good.
best
No,
players
it's
and
good for
best
the sport
teams.
because you're marketing the stars. You're
Yeah,
marketing, this like back in the '90s, like before you were born, dude.
mhm,
Like you'd have like Yankees like Braves, which even with like the Braves were on TBS, which was like if you had basic cable, you could watch the Braves. So like low key, like we all joke about how like Cowboys fans are like front runners. Well, people
mhm,
used to front run the Braves in the '90s,
which I could buy that.
right? And then you had like early, it's like you had like the Cardinals versus Red Sox. Obviously, Red Sox Yankees was always a huge like television event. Um,
Yeah, so, point being
yeah,
is that we're it's in a good spot. The first 2 games have been highly entertaining, game 1 being an all-time classic. Um, all the storylines, all the narratives that are being pushed are they're all right on track, Shohei being a performer is going well.
popped
Freddie
the shoulder out of his
Freeman,
pocket last
great
night.
story, is being great. Obviously, Otani's injury is not great. But we'll see. Mookie Betts is like silencing the playoff choker narrative for this run. Like, this is going to be his signature run in the playoffs that he deserves. Um, Juan Soto just
He's only been in the playoffs
incredible.
like every year of his career, but
Yeah,
whatever.
Juan Soto just absolutely incredible. Stanton continues to be a playoff monster. And then the biggest one that is being reinforced with every at bat and every pitch, seemingly, is Aaron Judge being the biggest playoff dropper in probably sports history, not even just baseball history, but sports history. I don't think it's close when you look at a guy who this regular season had an offensive season that was only outdone by steroid users of Barry Bonds and McGuire. Those were the only players that had a better offensive season than what Aaron Judge did this year. To then be of both teams in the World Series and maybe all the teams in the playoffs, one of the
You wouldn't
worst
consider Chris
playoff
Paul
hitters
a
this
worse
year.
playoff choker than Aaron Judge?
No, no, honestly, I would not. Considering Aaron Judge's magnitude of what he is this season and no, I would not. Chris Paul's up there, sure, but I think there's a lot of Chris Paul gets hurt a lot in these playoff runs, which is a totally different story. But Aaron Judge, total playoff disaster. In this year's playoffs, hitting 150 with an OPS of 605 compared to his 1159 OPS in the regular season, and it's just you watch it happen, you can clearly see it's mentally waning on him. It's getting to him. He hears the noise, he's letting the noise get to him. He's seeing pitches that are mistakes by pitchers, hanging sliders, fastballs up in the zone, which to him are really just like belt high, even though to everyone else would be a high pitch. It's just belt high. Like if they're on tees for him and he's fouling them off. He's swinging and missing. He's popping them up. He's just not doing what he'd be doing. And last night, he had multiple opportunities again to get something going, and he had more lifeless at bats. In the 7th inning, he got a hanging breaking ball that he totally missed, and everyone Yankee fans, everybody rightfully saying, if this is May against, the White Sox, that ball's hit into a different state, into a different stratosphere. But on the biggest stage and the biggest moment, It's just a foul ball. And, you know, he's doing a lot. He's at this point, probably he's the biggest contributor to why the Yankees are down 2-0 in the series because he's had opportunities to come through. And you look at the stars of both teams, all the other stars in game one, Otani, Betts, and Freeman all had big moments, all came through and won the game. You
Well,
look at game two,
I think
same
why
thing.
I kind of think that Aaron Boone committed malpractice in game one by intentionally walking Betts to go after Freddie Freeman. When you look at Freddie Freeman's numbers against left-handed pitching, he's one of the greatest hitters, lefty hitters all time against left-handed pitching. Like you just
I know
mentioned,
I saw. I
like you
look at
mentioned
that
Mookie Betts.
decision.
Like I don't know, man. Mookie Betts is like, he's still got that choker, in him.
Listen, I look at that situation and I look at it like there's nothing he could have done that if it did not work, he wouldn't have got criticized for. If he pitched him to Mookie Betts and Mookie Betts won the game with a single or whatever, everyone would have said, "Oh, you had a lefty on deck. You should have just walked him to get up whatever." If he walks him and Freddie wins the game, it's, "Oh, do we know how good Freddie Freeman is?" If he he said the biggest regret in his mind was like, "I should have just let Luke Weaver go out for the 10th," which like that's the second time going up and down for a reliever. That's hard to do. I know he was a former starter, but he came in the 8th to get out of it. He pitched the entire ninth. He's thinking my best bet would have been to start him the 10th. And like if that's your best bet, then it's to the point where he was damned if he does, damned if he doesn't,
Mm.
and it felt like an impossible situation that like if they weren't gonna escape it, regardless of how he attacked it, he was gonna get crap for it. It's one of those things that you know there were other things that happened in that game that probably ended up costing them, like when they were ahead and Otani hit that double and Gleyber Torres didn't block the baseball coming into the infield and Anthony Rizzo didn't back it up and Otani was able to get to third base. He was able to score on a sac fly. If he's on second base, maybe they don't get him home and they don't tie the game. And maybe the Yankees win that way. Like they were playing sloppy. Your biggest player isn't coming through in the clutch, and it's why you're down 2-0, and it's why you're probably going to lose the World Series. I would venture that the Yankees have about a 0% chance to win if Aaron Judge is going to continue to play this way. If
I would
they're
have to.
going to
I mean,
win, he needs to come
well,
through.
I would have to agree with you. Even if Otani doesn't take a single at bat the rest of the series with the shoulder injury
Yeah,
he suffered last night, which like I don't know,
I
like
have
you
no
just
idea.
like I mean, dude, you separate your shoulder, like you can't, dude, you can't swing a bat. Look at Bryce when he separated his shoulder, and he just couldn't hold a bat for 2 weeks. Like I don't know what painkillers or what the hell you're gonna do to get him comfortable to
It's a
swing
partially dislocated, like
partially. Oh,
noted sports doctor predicts Shohei Otani has an injury that would likely require potential surgery. You're right.
yeah,
There's conflicting reports out there that, you
we're
know,
gonna find out today. Then I suppose
yeah,
how the
like,
severity.
yeah, you'll see.
But like
But
so I just kind of want to bring this around to the Phillies. Just kind of some of
ugh,
my thoughts.
I do not.
Well, we looked at what I mentioned to you a few times now. Like that, like I'm not saying like blow it up. Like that is definitely not what I'm advocating for. But what I am kind of mentioning is like kind of you have the foundation, you have the nice parts of the house, but you need a new kitchen, you need to renovate one of the bedrooms, the deck is falling apart. The Dodgers, if John Middleton is authentic with his I want my effing trophy back, I will spend any dollar I need to do.
Hmm.
And if you're Dave Dombrowski, like realistically, like haven't the Dodgers kind of shown to a certain extent, if you renovate the roster and bring in, you know, guys that fulfill certain roles that you need, that it's not only doable when you have an unlimited budget, but like there is results. Like look at the Royals this year, dude. Like Bobby Witt Jr. was a tremendous player in 2023, and they had the worst record, one of the worst records in baseball. They went out and made a bunch of moves, and people kind of laughed at them for it, saying, "What's the point? You guys blow." And then they made the playoffs. Playing the White Sox notwithstanding, I know what you're probably thinking.
No, like, they were legit. They addressed needs, and they went and got, like, good starters. They spent money, like, a good amount of money without giving out, like, hundreds of million-dollar contracts besides extending Bobby Witt, and it worked. Like, it was good. You look at the Phillies, it's just tough because they have so many things tied up already, where, like, the Dodgers, they were kinda able to move off the things that they had tied up, or the things they really only had tied up long term. Like, they didn't have much else after that. Like, the Phillies have their long-term 10-year guys here, Bryce,
Well,
Trey,
you have JT
uh,
coming off the books in a year. You have you have Schwarber coming off the
Schwarber
books,
coming with the books in the year,
but you want to
Castellanos coming
keep
with the.
him.
My point is that, like, the way the Dodgers and the way the Royals added and tried to, patch the holes, that's what they did with Schwarber and like, they did that already, you know? Like, you wanna look at the Phillies' outlook. They need to you can't just run this whole thing back again. You gotta get some guys that help fit the bill of what you need, and what you need is, some better approach guys, you know? It's talked about, but it's not probably emphasized enough that you went from having guys like Rhys Hoskins and Gene Segura, where Rhys Hoskins was about as selective as they come at the plate, and Gene Segura, who was about as contact oriented as they come as the plate. And you replace Gene Segura effectively with, like, Johan Rojas, where that is a significant offensive downgrade, and you replaced Rhys Hoskins effectively with Trey Turner, where Trey Turner's MO is not nearly as selective as what Rhys Hoskins was. And in terms of actual offensive output, they're giving you pretty similar numbers across the board. And if you're getting the similar numbers, you favor to the guy that's going to walk more, if, whatever. And, if, like, of the players that are here, the thing I probably need the most of the players that are here and are going to be here next year, like, guaranteed, is I need a Trey Turner approach shift back to what it was when he first got to LA, and, like, when he was leaving Washington. Because what he has built up here of, like, him personally caring too much about driving the ball out of the stadium and hitting home runs is very, very detrimental for this team. He needs to be a guy that fixates more on putting the ball in play and using his speed. There should never be a season Trey Turner doesn't hit, like, over 300, like, comfortably over 300. He's way too skilled with the bat, and he's way too fast to not just be doing that. I don't need you to hit me 26, 27, 30 home runs. I would prefer you actually hit me, like,
Well, is that Kevin Long or
15 to
is
18.
that
I don't know what that is, because he wasn't he wasn't like that when he was with Kevin Long in DC. Like, that's why it's frustrating, because he wasn't like this before. It's like he figured out he could hit home runs and was like, "Yeah, I should just do this."
is it Sam Fold, who's the general manager, but he's like the chief analytics guy, and they're kind of still on the old. I
I
would
guess
say like
is he overcompensating because he's like, "I make $30 million and I need to put up big numbers. I can't just hit singles all the time." I don't know what it is. Regardless,
bro, people
I
in this town are so like archaic and back ass words. Like if Trey Turner had like a game where he hit like went 5 for 6 with 5 singles,
Mhm.
people would be like South Philly would be like, "Oh my god, Trey Turner is just like Pete Rose because
Yeah.
look at all the singles." Like I don't know. Like I think to me, it's well, like I think part of it is the pressure to win a championship. I think part of it also is like I don't like. I think it might be kind of just like the Phillies just lack a business like approach when they just kind of approach playing in a way where it's like when I say business like, I mean when there's adversity
Hmm.
and they have to overcome it. They just have to block out all the negative chatter and all the doubting and just go out and execute at the plate where you just saw how like mentally weak they were against the
Hmm.
Mets. This wasn't like it's it we'll talk about it when we get to the Eagles, but it's just like I don't know, log off Twitter. Stop paying attention to what freaking faceless people on social media say about you and just I don't know, go out and work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Uh,
I didn't mean this to be so depressing. I just thought that,
yeah, I'm done with the Philly. Enough. I'm done
yeah,
with it.
I was just like,
Yeah, I mean, you
for
brought it
people
up, and it was just
I
not a
don't want
good
to hear
idea.
if like honestly, like if they run back this roster and make minute changes, to me, if you're gonna fire Rob Thompson, you should fire Dombrowski with him. That's just my take.
Yeah, we'll
Like, what do
see.
you do?
They're gonna make changes. They're gonna listen. Are they gonna get Juan Soto? I don't know. Like, maybe, probably not. But I know for a stone cold fact they are giving him a massive offer at the very least. Like, Dave Dombrowski is like absolutely slow playing it, saying, "Oh, we don't need a star." You're like, you're right. You don't need another star player to help the team. But if you can get one, they're gonna try because they offered Yoshinobu Yamamoto $300 million after they had already signed Aaron Nola. That was not their Aaron Nola contingency plan. That was okay. We have Nola. Let's
And they
try.
already were talking to Zach Wheeler on an extension.
That's what I'm saying. Like they did all of those. Like just because they have what they have does not mean they are not going to offer Juan Soto $600 million or whatever that may be. They're going to try. And the best way I can look at this World Series is it continues to go the way it's going, and Aaron Judge continues to struggle, and Juan Soto grows annoyed and is like, I can't be here for the next 15
I don't even
years.
think it's that, dude. I think it's just like the idea, like with especially with Boris, it's going to be, you know, he's going to want more than Aaron Judge, and the
I mean, if he
Yankees.
wants the highest dollar amount, he's going to the Mets. So,
Uh,
unfortunately,
that's sad.
so that's what we have to deal with. So, anyways, on to football. We spent way too much time talking about the Phillies. That was terrible. So on to football. Thursday night game was a pretty good game. What continues to stay true is the Lions like effect. You play the Lions, you're losing the next week. Teams are now 0-5 the week after they play the Lions. It applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. Doesn't matter who your opponent is either, as we've seen.
Does the bye week account into take that into account?
The bye week probably cancels it out. So that's, your cowboy thought there. But what it really is, Seahawks, they lose at home to the Giants the week after they play the
Oh, that
Lions.
was a brutal game. Yeah.
The Cardinals get railed by the Commanders the week after they play the Lions. The Rams get railed by the Cardinals the week they play after they play the Lions. And the Vikings, after a grueling loss to the Lions, play, you know, they don't play great and they lose against an inferior Rams team. In a spot where short week, coming off the tough grittiness that it takes to play the Lions. Listen, the Vikings, their defense was not as potent as it's been all year. They clearly looked a little gassed, and the Rams were able to have success um, doing what they wanted to do. And, the Vikings offense was a little, you know, off
Suspect.
off page a bit. So yeah, I mean, I just think that's just the way it goes.
Well, I
Teams
mean,
play the
yeah,
Lions.
I don't
It's
know
very,
how you get to the
very
1 yard
draining.
line after you've been moving the ball at will and you can't score a touchdown. I think I'm not saying that Sam Darnold's falling back down to earth, or like he's just now this is who he is, like. But I think he's in the Baker and Jared Goff tier, where he's just gonna have a heater run, and then he's just gonna have a couple like games.
Yeah, like Sam Darnold, the easy comparison, like, oh, the Jets failed starter turning into a good quarterback. Look at Geno Smith. And it's like, I think he's like Geno Smith, but not solely because of the Jets. It's the reclamation project that actually seemingly figured it out. And you watch him play, like Sam Darnold actually looks good. Like it's not just like they're winning and Jefferson's doing all the work and Aaron Jones is doing all the work. Like no, like Sam Darnold looks comfortable in the pocket. He looks decisive in his decision making. His accuracy can be off at a bit times, and maybe that's probably the biggest issue with him, but for the most part he's pretty accurate. And when you're able to be decisive and on time and you're throwing it to the best receiver in the league, yeah, things are gonna be able to have success, and it all just goes back to the Vikings coaching staff being probably the best coaching staff in the league by, honestly, a decent margin, and it honestly, what they're gonna find themselves with, I think, by the end of the season and into the offseason is they're gonna find themselves in a little issue or a little predicament where, you only signed Sam Darnold to a one-year contract to be the little bridge with JJ McCarthy. And JJ McCarthy obviously getting hurt. But if you're like Sam Darnold's gonna get what like Baker got, probably. Like he's gonna play himself into like a 30 to $35 million a year contract if all continues to go well. Like this is in my mind, assuming the Vikings win like 11, 12 games, maybe they win a road playoff game. So I do think the Lions will have the edge. Maybe they win a road playoff game and lose a tough one, or even if they lose in the first round, they just lose a tough playoff game that Darnold plays well, plays himself into a 30 to $35 million a year contract, and it creates like, are the Vikings going to give him that contract? I personally think they
Mm.
should. You were the team that figured him out. I know you drafted JJ McCarthy, but Jesus, you have a quarterback in there. He's not old. He's pretty young still. I don't know. Maybe you consider
They're gonna tag him and then they're gonna trade him to a team. The question is because
that seems
especially
like a
with this,
dumb idea, John. I'll be honest. What do
well,
we
I
know
mean,
about
Michael,
JJ
there's a reason why the
McCarthy?
Minnesota Vikings have this many Super Bowls. I'm
Right, and
just
I think their
yeah, but
best bet.
when these teams take a quarterback in the first round and they have this like unexpected event at quarterback, I think I don't know. You bring up a good point because the Chargers sort of did this with Philip Rivers and Drew Brees, where Drew Brees got good. Philip Rivers like rode the pine for like 2 years, and then Drew Brees actually suffers a serious shoulder injury, and they thought it made their decision for him. Like they both go on to have great careers, Philip Rivers and Drew Brees, but
Yeah, I mean, this is a little unique. I think it's a little different because, like, you didn't know what JJ McCarthy was. You knew Drew Brees was good. Obviously, the shoulder injury created concern, but it's like you have no idea what JJ McCarthy is going to look like at the next level.
well, how did
We,
JJ McCarthy hurt his knee? Was it in training camp?
I
Like
think
what?
it was in practice. Yeah, it was in like a non-contact sort of situation. Like it was bad. So I don't know. If I'm the Vikings, what I'm probably doing is I'm probably giving a Darnold like a 3-year contract. I'll commit to it, and I'll just have JJ McCarthy rehab, learn, and sit there. And by the end of 3 years, we'll see where the team's at. And maybe some quarterback needy team is going to try to trade for McCarthy, and I'll listen to some
Well, here's
phone
another
calls.
thing too. What if Brian Flores goes to like the Raiders to be their coach or something? I'm
I mean,
just
does he want to? Like, I don't know.
I
He might want to just
mean,
stay at DC.
I don't know. I mean, I also feel like like the Dolphins are just a complete disaster. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, on the flip, I mean, I'm not surprised the Vikings lost. I mean, you mentioned the Lions effect. I mean, the Rams. I mean, that NFC West is so wide open, and we'll talk about the NFC West once we pick the games because everyone's playing a game today. No bye weeks. No bye weeks at all. So we
Are you
got a full.
serious?
Yes, we got a full
They do
slate.
their schedule so strangely now.
Yeah. So red zone today is going to be popping.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
kicking us off,
yeah.
we have the Tennessee Titans on the road against the Detroit Lions. So the Lions, I don't plan. By the way, I don't plan on using the Titans as evidence of the Lions curse. You know, whoever they play next week, I don't know if it'll have any effect. The fact that they played the Lions today, but so this line was 7. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins got traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. The line's now 12. The Lions are 12-point favorites. This feels like it could be a letdown spot to an extent,
Well, who do the
but
Lions play next week?
I just don't even know if it matters, to be completely honest with you. Like, the Titans, I can't visualize how the Titans, they're just so lifeless. Like, the Lions would have to play really, really bad football for like 3.5 quarters for this game to be close. Like, even if they just play one bad quarter of football, even a bad half of football, the other
Oh,
half, the Lions should be able to run things.
I just saw who the Lions play next week. That would be in Green Bay to take on the Packers in one of the NFL's oldest rivalries,
Yeah, so
like a
I don't know.
95-year-old rivalry. I gotta listen. I know we talk about trap games, and like, is this
We were
trap
kind of
game?
over on all the trap games. We haven't picked one out right.
Well, I don't think this is a trap game from the perspective that they're laying 12. If they were laying like 3 or 4 points, and you're like, what the hell? Like, the Lions don't really. I mean, listen, no, there's no JMO for the next 2 games because was he really taking Viagra? Is that what he got
I have
popped
no
for?
I didn't see what it was, but
But they think
yeah,
it was like Chad
some sort of
Ochocinco
Cialis or
talked
whatever.
about it, but it opens up your like veins. Ew. Anyway, I'm taking the Lions here, dude. Like, I gotta be honest. Like, this Titans team. I mean, let's be like, they're already trading guys away. Like, just they're trading
Oh,
guys away.
they're full blown tank. Yeah, I'm also taking the Lions. I don't know. What am I supposed to believe in out there? And maybe we'll be proven wrong, and the hint to the trap will come true. But I can't confidently say it. The next game here, another big line. I'm not really sure why this line opened up so small.
Because the Ravens have like a bazillion injuries.
Yeah, but Jesus Christ, the Ravens are on the road against the Browns. The Browns are 8-point underdogs at home. No more Watson, but also like Amari Cooper's gone too. The Browns really have nothing. I guess Nick Chubb's back and like played last week, so that's exciting. Getting him another week in there. I don't know, man. Like, I look at this game, the Ravens, they still do the Ravens thing, which I think is an indictment on John Harbaugh, and I think he gets a big pass often, even though how soon we forget he was on the hot seat not too long ago. But they do this thing where they can't finish games, and that to me falls on coaching. They can dominate the entire game, and that's what they did in Tampa. They were dominant. They were destroying the Buccaneers, running the ball as they pleased, throwing the ball as they pleased. They had Baker in hell. All that sort of stuff was going on. You get to the end of the game, and what do we see? We see they recover an onside kick. The head coach is a special teams guy. That should never happen. The defense starts, you know, opening up everything. The offense has some bizarre turnover because you try to throw a swing pass and it was like a lateral and, whatever. And all of a sudden the game's like close-ish and they still win and you still feel good about it, but it's their biggest flaw. It's why they flirted with blowing the Cowboys game. The Ravens do it all the time. This is something that's become, honestly, unfortunately, a part of their identity that they can't finish
They're
teams
like
off.
the reverse Eagles, where the Eagles
It's
can't
weird.
do anything in the first quarter, where like
Ravens
the
just
Ravens just completely collapse in the fourth quarter.
and honestly, I'm probably gonna be wrong in this pick, but I'm gonna maybe despite the creep a little bit, I'll take the Browns +8 in a thought of the Ravens are up and, you know, they just kinda take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter.
They are at home and they all hate their fans now because they cheered Deshaun Watson's injury.
No, I'm not taking Cleveland. I'm taking Baltimore. I'll go down with the ship. I'll take
I'm
Baltimore.
taking Baltimore as well.
They're getting too cute.
Because and like look, I don't think Jameis Winston's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback either. But I also think that when I look at the Browns, like they're changing play callers. Was Kevin Stefanski, now it's Ken Dorsey. Um this Ravens offense is like a juggernaut. I feel they're a juggernaut
Yeah,
offense.
like Lamar should really get consideration for his third MVP this year.
What do
He
you mean should
deserves it.
be? I think he's the front runner. I mean, who
Is he
else
the
is
front runner
better?
now? I thought
Yeah, who
Mahomes
else
was
is
the
better?
Well, I thought odds makers had
What
Mahomes as the
Mahomes?
favorite still. Listen, I'm
What?
telling you what the odds say. I'm
What?
not I'm not saying
Brett?
this from
What?
my
Brett
perspective.
Mahomes throwing picks left and right?
Listen, I wasn't the one saying this. I'm just saying what the odds are saying. And if you look at uh okay, Lamar is the MVP favorite. That just changed because he was not. He simply was like second or third and Mahomes was the favorite. But Lamar is now the favorite, as he should be. Um, but yeah, third MVP would be something crazy for him. I mean, that stat that he had of he's thrown 5 it's his 5th game with 5 plus touchdowns passing and 0 interceptions, and he's done it in just 86 starts where all the other quarterbacks, even the ones that have more than him, but the ones that also have the same amount, all of them were well over 200 starts. And Lamar is at 86. Truly remarkable. Special talent for sure. Total Hall of Famer. I'm riding on him again. I hope he has another nice day today. Moving on, we have an interesting one. The Packers are on the road against the Jags. This line was at a
Feels like
half.
a
It's
slap.
now it feels shady. The Jags are 3.5 point underdogs at home. They're winners of 2 straight. Um, Travis Etienne, I think, is not going to play. He was questionable all week.
Well,
He
I
was
got
like
Tank Bigsby for an anytime touchdown, so that makes me feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I have Tank on my fantasy team, and I saw his projection take a jump, and I was like, "That's a good sign." So if you look at ETN, he's projected to have 0 if like, realistically, like, Bigsby has looked like the better running back this year and should kind of carry the load as the year goes on, but especially if ETN's not 100%, there it would be malpractice for him to play and, like, get a big workload
Well, no,
anyways,
like the worst thing you can do is play him, get his injury even worse, and then you just can't
and then
trade him.
you're stuck with him, exactly. So him not playing, I don't even know if that's better or worse for the Jags. ETN's had a rough year, hasn't really been healthy, but I don't know. The Packers came off what was like a gifted win from the Texans. The way the Texans handled those last like 2 minutes was some of the worst football I've ever seen. They drove down the field very, very nicely. They were obviously only needed a field goal to take the lead, but they could have very easily gotten a touchdown, lost yards on a run. You whatever, ran it for nothing. Then it was 3rd and long, and you threw a pass, allowing the Packers to hold on to their timeout. The pass was incomplete anyway, so it stopped the clock. It was lunacy. You kicked the field goal, settled for it. Packers had all the time in the world, only down a point, by the way, or 2 points, whatever it was. They only needed a field goal to win. And absurdly, the Texans were playing defense as if they were winning by like 4 points, as if they were winning in a way that would have required the Packers to need to score a touchdown.
Well, I
They were
mean,
just
D'Amico Ryans does come from the Kyle Shanahan tree, and we
it
know about
was
Kyle
just
Shanahan teams.
unbelievable. Like,
They seem to play stupid near the
yeah,
end of games.
it was very, very stupid. I was very, very shocked just
Close
watching
games,
them
excuse me.
like 12 yards off the ball, letting them easily get into field goal range and they lose. So the Packers were gifted that one. They still haven't played, like, a dominant game yet, a complete dominant game, and maybe this is a spot for them, but at the same time, Jags have some momentum. They just spent the last 2 weeks in London, which was frustrating. It's very trappy. I think I'm gonna take the Jags, though, plus 3.5. I think if they
I'm
lose,
taking
they'll
the
lose by a
Jags as
field goal.
well. I'm taking the Jags because for a couple reasons. I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
Okay.
A lot of people were talking up the Packers defense. I'm going to be honest, dude. I don't think the Packers defense is as legitimate as a lot of people claim. I just don't think they're I mean, I just don't think they still tackle well enough. And
Mhm,
you kind of saw it when the Packers play a team that can run the ball. They can't stop the run. Like they couldn't stop Mixon. Like
mhm.
like I just you just saw C.J. Stroud just have every good quarterback this year has thrown a clunker game.
I
Like
mean,
Jalen
that was a massive clunker. He threw for 86 passing
Jalen's
yards.
clunker was obviously against like Tampa, right? Were you gonna say that was
Mhm.
his clunker game, right?
Yeah, he was terrible.
Um, yeah, like everyone has a clunker game, you know.
Mhm,
So this could be Love's clunker game because they're on the road. They're playing. They're This is the trap game. This
mhm.
is the trap game. We talked
Yeah.
about not the line. This is the trap game. They're playing a huge. They're playing for first place. But if they win this game next week against the Lions,
Mhm.
and think about it. Think about like the Packers' domination of the Lions up until recently, since the Lions got good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm taking the Jags. I think this is we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see like Trevor Lawrence. Excuse me, Trevor Lawrence. I think you're gonna see a huge game out of him today.
All right. That'd be fun. Next game we have is the uh, Indianapolis Colts on the road against the Texans. Texans are 5-point favorites. We just spent a good amount of time talking about how the Texans are weird. Joe Mixon looks great. He's like their engine on offense. They go as he goes. CJ Stroud, you said, had a clunker. It was more than a clunker. That was embarrassing. He has some great PR though, because I don't think we've heard a peep about it on social media or
It's
on
because he
national
appears
media.
on every single podcast
Yeah,
in
I mean, you
existence.
hear nothing about CJ Stroud having a bad week, and it'll be chalked. Oh, he's just the second year starter, whatever. 86 yards is unacceptable in a loss, but you hear none of it. The Colts last week, they got their greasy win. I think I'm gonna take the Colts to cover though.
I'm
If they
taking
do
the Colts as
anything,
well to cover.
if they do anything, they cover. They're 6-1
I
against the
have a
spread. The
hot take
Texans,
on this Texans team,
yeah, go
Michael.
ahead.
They're going to be the 2022 Minnesota Vikings.
Mhm.
Have you looked at their point differential?
Yeah, it's messy. It is not good.
And they it, like you just kind of hit the nail on the head about last week. They just played stupid. And they
Yeah.
got bailed out versus the Bills because the Bills played stupid. They should have probably lost that game too,
Mhm.
you know. I'm taking the Colts. I think the Colts are a better coached team than the Texans. They just have less talent.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're both taking the Colts. Next game we have the Cardinals and the return of Tua, Miami Dolphins. So, yeah, I
I can
mean,
honestly see them dropping like 41 points. The
like,
Dolphins.
is that what it's gonna be? Tua Tua's brain cannot be well, but he is playing. The Cardinals coming off a nice greasy win on Monday night on a streaming service.
They won because
Yeah,
Jalen Ragged. That's why they
yes,
won.
yes. I I think I'm gonna take Miami, though. I don't know what to expect from Tua. I do expect Tyreek Hill to have a nice day because I've never seen a player like the starting quarterback comes back and he's as giddy as could be and like, oh, he's like, play me in fantasy again. Like if you were sitting me, play me now. And it's like, dude, thanks. Um, so I hope he has a good week for my sake. But I'm taking Miami. I just think this is one of those spots where, you're at home and we know how much better they play at home, especially it's still midway through the season, but it's still on the earlier side of things. The Dolphins, I think Mike McDaniel's been like losing his mind because for whatever reason he's constructed an offense that is unable to facilitate without Tua. He's probably been frothing at the mouth to call some big plays. I wouldn't be surprised if like one of the first plays in the game is a deep ball to Tyreek Hill just because. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Dolphins. I don't know if it's necessarily gonna be a spanking. They might actually lose if Tua's brain is, still awful. So it'll be intriguing, but I'll ride the Dolphins for now.
I'm taking the Dolphins too, dude. Even though the Cardinals won last week, I gotta be critical of the Cardinals on offense, where they just don't know how to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball, and all of the other rookie wide receivers, Roma Dunze aside, because he's been hurt for the most
Mhm.
part, right?
Yeah.
Dude, how how hard is it to scheme up a play to get him open?
Yeah, I don't understand. Like
Like part of like people are saying it's Kyler Murray because he's like, oh, it's not my job to get him the ball. It's like, well, actually, it is, dude. You're a quarterback. Your job is to throw
right.
the ball.
It's weird. Like because he's open sometimes, but like the ball's already out. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic that they got going on over there. He looked a little like Marvin looked a little frustrated too because he didn't look like he was fully running his routes. It got to a certain point. He was like, "I'm not getting the ball," and it was weird. It was not pretty, but I don't know. I think it's obviously fixable. They just got to fix it.
And I wonder if it's going to be this game because, dude, the Dolphins suck.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah.
Next game we have is the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The last time these two teams played, it was quite the Thursday night battle. This time around, the Buccaneers are extremely shorthanded. Disaster class of taking care of their players, leading to two significant injuries to their star wide receivers. Mike Evans, who was dealing with a hamstring injury entering the game, caught his touchdown, was clearly, like, not well after catching said touchdown, and then they left him in the game, and obviously, it gets really hurt, and now he's missing extended period of time. You're down multiple possessions, with under a minute to go, and you're leaving in Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin gets rolled up on, and he's now out for the season, and potentially, like, career-altering injury the way that went. So, yeah, total disaster class on the part of Todd Bowles and, the Buccaneers as a whole coaching staff letting those guys play in those situations. So, yeah, the receiver room is not nearly as intriguing. I'm taking Atlanta. I think they're gonna I definitely think they're gonna win the NFC South now. The Saints everything fell apart after the first 2 weeks, and the Buccaneers, very, very hobbled offensively. I think it's gonna be tough sledding, moving forward. I'm taking Atlanta minus 2.5.
I'm taking Atlanta minus 2.5 as well. I do think
Yeah.
that, though, especially for Atlanta and their defense, particularly,
Mhm.
if they can't get after Baker in this game, even with like the backup receivers,
Yeah.
like Baker, when he gets cushion, like cooks.
Mhm.
I wonder if because Atlanta, if they're just gonna struggle making open field tackles because their running game is so much better than last year's, and their running backs
Tampa.
are utilized heavily in the passing game.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to just count out the Buccaneers either as well,
Mhm.
because I got to be honest, dude, this Falcons team is so inconsistent and has
Mhm.
gotten very lucky in games,
Mhm.
and I still wonder, I mean, is Kirk fully back? Because, like, last week, he kind of, he's like up and down still, but we'll see.
Yeah. Next game we have the Patriots and the Jets. So the
Oh,
Jets
God.
are 7-point favorites on the road. I
I
feel
get
like
the
this is
logic behind this line. I get the logic.
listen, they should be 7-point favorites. They're talent-wise, they're a significantly better team. They do get Hassan Reddick back finally. That saga has ended, which, good for the Jets. But listen, the Jets, Aaron Rodgers is just not the same. He shows flashes of being like, "Oh, man, that's the guy." But then he just, like he gets off of things way too quickly, forces check down sometimes when he can just trust his arm and his ability. It's just kind of a mess, and I think there will be weeks that it figures itself out and it looks really good, but I don't think I don't know. I'm taking New England +7. I don't feel necessarily great about it, but I do like Drake May, a lot, and I think that honestly, this game could potentially get a little shootout-y. I don't think the Jets defense has looked very good since firing Robert Saleh, and I think that, you know, if the Jets are gonna figure out their offense, New England's defense is still kind of a tough-ish task to do that with, throwing the ball, and I know that's how they wanna figure it out. They want to figure it out through the air, but they do have, 2 great receivers now instead of just 1, so that
Isn't
helps
it
a lot.
something, Michael, that all the other teams in the AFC East have drafted their franchise quarterbacks, and yet the Jets can't figure it out?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, I'm gonna take the Patriots today,
Really?
and and this is why I think Aaron. I mean, the Jets are probably like now the worst coached team in the NFL, and like I know we're just brutal and we're like, oh, Nick Sirianni's the worst coach in the NFL history, blah, 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 blah.
It's,
Dude,
like,
like Nick
close, but
Sirianni's like Vince Lombardi compared to the crap they have up
I
the
don't know, man.
I
He might not
95
be. I can't give him
because
that credit. I really can't,
because
unfortunately.
because like here's the thing is that the Jets should be so much better offensively. Did you see that? You sent me the picture, and I sent it to you of time in the pocket, like most clean pockets and
Mhm.
efficiency.
Yes, yes,
Aaron
yes, yes.
Rodgers has had a clean pocket
He's terrible.
91% of the 91%. Michael, Zach Wilson last year would have performed better than Aaron Rodgers is right now. That means
Yeah.
that Aaron Rodgers is, let's all say it with me, class, he is cooked. Cooked. Dunzo. He's
Yeah,
washed up. He's
yeah.
41 years old, dude. Like, this
Mhm.
is normal. But he's just, leave it to the Jets to find a way to screw this up. And you mentioned Sam Darnold. Wouldn't it be something if they moved off Aaron Rodgers to bring Sam Darnold back, the guy they moved off of to go bring in Aaron Rodgers in a
It would
way?
that would be very highly unserious and very, very funny, though.
I'm taking
That'd
the.
be
I could see like Drake May. Like, listen, Drake May's gonna be hunting. If Drake May's like all that, dude, if he
Mhm,
throws like 4 tutties today, like I could see them beating this Jets team. I mean, even with Devonte Adams on their roster, like
mhm.
you know, like I don't. They have no identity on offense. Are they a running team? Are they a passing team? They should be a running team because you can't pass the ball effectively. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah. Next game we have here, we have the we're gonna skip that for the end. We have the Buffalo Bills and Seattle Seahawks to open up the 4 o'clock slate. The Bills are 3-point favorites on the road against the Seahawks. Um, Seattle I like Seattle. I've been riding Seattle all year. I'm gonna do it again here. I'm gonna pick them +3 at home. This is a The Bills' offense needs to really get back on track, and honestly, I think this is a good spot for them to. Um, it took some time, but they ended up really opening things up against the Titans and took care of business. It did take a little bit of time, but it got there. This is a good matchup for I think both these teams are gonna be able to put up points. Um, DK Metcalf not playing is a huge loss for Seattle, so I do fear for, their offensive output in that regard, but, ah, you know what? No. I eh, I don't know. What are your thoughts? But I might change my mind. What are your thoughts? I'm tight here.
I think this Seattle Seahawks team is incredibly soft. I think they're very soft on defense. Um, I think that they picked up Ernest Jones the fourth.
Mhm.
So this is his third different team in like 9 weeks, which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
For a guy that's like a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. Um, yeah, this is why I like the Bills. James Cook is fully healthy. He was banged up last. He was banged up the last couple of weeks. He's fully
Mhm.
back. Obviously, Amari Cooper looks like I don't know, looked like he was in like an abusive marriage, and now he just got out of it. Now he's like looks literally like he's done a complete 180. Doesn't know the Bills playbook and still produces. That's how good he is. An
Yeah,
underrated.
he had a drop on his first target, which was like, "Oh," that was kinda funny. Hit him right in the chest, but then he settled in real
Yeah, and
nice.
I think the Bills are going to definitely be active at the trade deadline like they were last year to add some more pieces. Listen, I
Mhm.
think I you know what? After watching Thursday night, I think the winner of the NFC West will have 9 wins of that division, and I think it might be the Saint Louis. I think it might be the Rams because I don't trust this Seahawks team at all. I think they're underperforming. Witherspoon is having a bad year, and this is kind of why.
It's a bad look when your young head coach who's a defensive mind is coaching a bad defense.
Well, that's well, it's he's trying to build a culture in Seattle. He's basically trying to erase everything that Pete Carroll established there, where Pete Carroll's the greatest coach in franchise history. It's kind of a bad look. It would be
Yeah.
like if like Nick Sirianni tried to erase everything accomplished under Andy Reid
Mhm.
or Doug
Mhm.
Peterson, basically. You
Yeah,
know,
and you don't wanna be doing that.
yeah, exactly. So I'm taking the Bills.
Alright. So, next game, is the God, some of these
Is
just
Kamara
suck, you know?
playing because he's got a broken hand?
I think he's playing even though Alvin Kamara has a broken hand, which is very like, how do you play,
Stupid
you know? I don't How do you play with a broken hand?
because Dennis Allen hates Kendre Miller that much.
Like, he's just down to play. He doesn't even have an injury designation. Anyways, Chargers Saints. Chargers are 7-point favorites at home. Like, there's no part of me that actually believes the Chargers should ever be a 7-point favorite, and, like, I don't know if they're capable of covering, but then I look at the other side, and I look at the Saints, and I'm like, "Ugh, how are they going to even remotely do anything? How are they gonna score? How are they?"
Dude, this
I
Saints team reminds me of like the
I'm taking
Char.
the
They remind
Chargers.
me of like the Chargers last year when Herbert got injured.
Yeah. I
Is
don't know if I
Rattler
said I'm
playing
taking the
again?
Bills. I don't know if I said I'm taking the Bills, by the way.
I'm taking the Bills too.
I made that switch.
Is Spencer Rattler playing again?
Yeah, right? Definitely.
Dude, Spencer Rattler reminds me of like the Wish Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, like maybe worse than that. I don't know what's worse, but it's there's another level. Rattler's terrible. I'm taking the Chargers -7. I can't I don't know. The Saints, I don't know if they're just able to score points. Like I don't know if they can. I don't think they can move the ball well. So I'm taking the Chargers.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. I could honestly see this being like a big J.K. Dobbins day.
Yeah. Next game we have the Bears and the Commanders. So
Here we
Jaden
go.
Daniels is playing. He is going to be active. We don't know how like, if I had to guess, the fact that he was, like, basically a game time decision, I'll say it, don't play Jaden Daniels today if I'm the Commanders. I wouldn't even remotely consider playing him
Yeah,
today.
but who
If
owns the
he's
Commanders, Michael?
oh, boy. That's just we're combining the 2, and it's just the worst.
I
So,
mean, am I wrong? Correct me.
no, probably
No.
not. No, no. So I'm taking the Bears. I feel as though Jaden Daniels I it's so tough because I do hate the Commanders, and I never want them to succeed. But I like Jaden Daniels. I'm a fan of his. I enjoy watching him play. I hope for his personal sake, he doesn't treat him playing like he's fine. You know what I'm saying? Don't go out there and don't run and take hits, like, and not slide, and all of a sudden you're gonna get yourself in even more trouble. You need to protect yourself. If I'm the Commanders, I'm probably limiting the amount of quarterback runs I call just in general today. I really gotta treat this game with the outlook of his future in mind and not put him in harm's way to get injured further. With that being said, I think that takes away a big dynamic of their offense, which is his running ability, and he's very, very effective at it, and that threat is very, very legitimate. It helps open things up in the passing game, even their quick game. So I'm gonna take the Bears. Listen, the Bears are coming off a bye. They were hot going into the bye. I think they'll be hot coming out of it. You know, they'll really be able to heal up everybody. And I just think the Commanders, you know, they have their they have their issues, and with the injury to Jade Daniels, I think they're gonna be a little more conservative with it, and it might just cost them. So Bears +1 for me.
If I told you if I said to you that if the Chicago Bears played in the NFC West, they would be the best team in that division, would you believe me?
Record-wise or just actual like, record-wise, I believe it. They're what? They're 4-2? Like, yeah. Listen,
With
the Bears, they were winning ugly, and now they're winning good.
I'm taking the Bears on the road. Obviously, this is we're taking a peek into the future of the NFL with these
Mhm.
two quarterbacks. Michael, my hot take 2 weeks ago, where I said Caleb Williams is like where Andrew Luck was in 2012, and like Jane Daniels is where RG3 was in 2012.
It's coming true, man. It's coming true.
I would say that's a pretty good take on my part. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is why I like the Bears. The Bears have. I haven't seen the Bears ever have this many weapons at like one time.
No, their offense is about as high-powered as it's ever been.
And it's like
It's
low key comical how much better Caleb Williams in like 7 games is better than like all the quarterbacks I've ever seen the Bears have.
well, yeah, he's got even the stats to back it up. It's truly something.
And that's why. And listen, for the Bears defense is pretty decent, all things
Mhm.
considered. I think the concern, and listen, I think the concern here is, I think is Shane Waldron. Is he just gonna like
Yeah,
bottle
he's
this game?
awful. I think he has the chance to bottle any week, but I think they've found at least some sort of formula that has worked the last few games that I hope
I think Keenan
will
Allen
continue.
now being healthy, like I don't know, dude. Like Keenan Allen is like a vampire. Like he doesn't age. Like I
It's
don't
just he'll age. He'll just still find ways to succeed. Like he is very helpful to that offense just because it's like the scheme can be what the scheme is, but he's like the adult in the offensive huddle that, "Listen, I'm just gonna get open against zone coverage, and you're just gonna find me." And, like, he's coming in there, and he's like, "Look for me this play. You have me here." And he has kinda just done that his whole career, and I think it helps a lot with the rookie quarterback. Next game we have this is always a classic, like, this game is the most annoying thing ever to watch. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the road against the Raiders. 8.5-point favorites, the Chiefs are. The Raiders are just unbelievably terrible. It's hard to tell sometimes who's playing quarterback because 'cause they're both just so bad. Um,
Minshew's back in.
yeah, Minshew's back in. He's just bad.
And he's being backed up by Desmond Ritter, excuse me.
Desmond Ritter. And every time these two teams play, it feels like the Raiders cover. I'm sure there's numbers. The Raiders win sometimes. Like, it's just gross. I am going to take Kansas City minus 8.5, throw my hands up in the air and say, you know what? If the undefeated team's going to mess around with whatever the hell the Raiders product is, then so be it. I can't do anything about it. So
Well, there's
I'll
going to be a
take that.
lot of Chiefs fans at this game too. It's
Yeah,
going to be
no,
like
that
an
place is going to be
official
red.
game for them.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Chiefs too, Michael. Listen, I said at the
I don't
beginning of the
hear.
broadcast, it's National Tight Ends Day, right? I'm
Yeah, are
thinking
you pandering?
we are 100% going to pander here. I think we're going to see. I would not be surprised.
Grant Calcaterra.
You-
Sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to say Bowers and Kelsey both get tutties in this game.
2 touchdowns. Let's really jazz it up a little bit. Are the
Yeah,
Raiders
mainly
capable of
because neither
scoring a
team has a
touchdown?
wide receiver that's like
Yeah.
good enough to catch
Is
a touchdown.
D-Hop's playing, right? Like, he's gonna suit up, he's
I
playing today?
mean, yeah, but he's got the mobility of a sailboat right now.
What DeAndre Hopkins, I think, crazy enough, what he needs to turn himself into, I think, to age a little bit better, which maybe it's too late at this point because he has dealt with some injuries, and it's just it wasn't really his game. His game, his prime in Houston days, it was throw that ball up. I'm the best spectacular catch player, like, in this era. I'm just going up and I'm getting it. I'm getting open. I'm able to make plays after the catch. I don't think he has, like, 10 yards of yak this year, with the Titans. I don't think he it's something he just can't move.
We
But
just can't separate.
if he wants to age his game better, I think he needs to really honestly, he could look at a guy like Travis Kelce and emulate kind of the way he moves, where Kelsey's not moving fast out there. He's just like, rolling around. And I think that Keenan Allen is another guy that he needs to try to emulate his late career game
I think
after.
late. I think it's
Because he's
late.
still got the
I think if
hands.
you're the Kansas City Chiefs, it's late October. Let's get Kelsey some reps in against the
Mhm.
Raiders because we don't want him to be so like I don't know preserved. Where hey, I don't know, 5 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown for him today. I don't think
Yeah,
that's
that's
unreasonable.
not a no, it's not even a
I
little
don't
bit.
think that's unreasonable.
Uh, the final game of this 4 o'clock window, we have a Super Bowl rematch, John,
Wow.
of the
Is that how you're
Carolina
wording this?
of the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. Um,
Michael, when's the last time the Broncos laid 11 points against an opponent?
I think
Peyton Manning was their
I
quarterback.
could say a lot of absurd things dating back to when Peyton Manning was last their quarterback, but yes, when Peyton Manning was their quarterback. This line was 2.5 at some point. I don't really know what happened there. It's now 11. The Broncos are 11-point favorites, like you said. Today is it's Bryce Young Day today.
Oh, is that what's today? Yes.
Andy Dalton and his
Why did they bring him
family.
in last week when Andy Dalton was just Andy Daltoning it up?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that game was just I don't know. But Andy Dalton got in a car crash with his family, and I think everyone's fine, grand scheme.
Well, no, I
But
thought they just benched him because he's just ass. And why don't you just play Bryce Young because you
well,
need?
there are clips like he was like maybe his hand. It looked like his hand might have been a little banged up. I don't know. But yeah, they're putting Bryce Young back in. I don't know if road in Denver was, like, the spot to do it, especially, like, if you were planning on doing this or getting around to it, last week was the perfect game to just put him in the second half. You're getting hammered. Just let him play a little bit. Let him get some reps before he goes and has the full week as the starter in preparation. Um, but, like, I'm taking Denver minus 11. I don't know. Like, Denver isn't great either, to be fair. The Panthers are atrocious. They are terrible. They let
I
Marcus
mean, if you
Mariota
win, I
cook
mean, this
them.
feels like a 20-3 game.
Yes, yeah, because Bo Nix is awful. He's about as bad as they come as
Hey, I
well.
got some Bo Nix cards now. I didn't go out and buy the cards; they were just came in
I
packs.
sure hope you did not go buy the card.
So, like, I
Um,
sort of need him to be good,
well,
Michael.
John, those will probably be about. Yeah.
I need if he throws. Yeah, we're selling them. We're selling them
Those will
bad
be
news.
as useful as a, used gift card pretty soon. So,
Let's look
um,
up. Wait, you're talking bad about my new. By
I
the way,
yes, John, I am.
I mean at work I said he's like hot garbage, and people were making
Yeah.
fun of me when they'd win games, despite him. Um, this might be the game where Bo Nix, like you're gonna. There's always. I feel like there's always like a mid to bad QB that has like a really good game, and you're just like,
Mhm.
why can't he look like he did on that late October game against the Panthers, where he throws like 4 touchdowns?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I'm taking Denver.
yeah. Uh, so the next game we have here is the Sunday night football game, the Dallas Cowboys on the road against San Francisco 49ers. Both these teams stink, kinda. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not fair, but the Niners are about as battered and bruised up as they come. Is Deebo Samuel playing?
I don't think he is.
Okay, so he had pneumonia, had fluid in his lungs, very sick. Only played 3 snaps against Kansas City.
Juwan
Like,
Jennings isn't playing either.
walked off the field looking like he was holding in throw up. No Juwan Jennings, did not know that. Brandon Ayuk obviously is out for the season. Christian McCaffrey, God knows what's up with his Achilles. They say they expect him to be back after the bye, which is next week for
Oh,
them.
Debo Samuel is playing
He is
despite.
playing? Oh,
This
Jesus.
is breaking according to Adam Schefter. Wrist injury and pneumonia. He's expected to play versus the Cowboys.
Wow. Well, if honestly, they might just have him playing because they don't have other options. Like he might just be out there as a decoy. God knows.
Well,
Who
you got
knows?
Ricky Pearsall,
Yeah. So,
first round pick.
uh-huh. Right. So
Did they take
the
him over Brian Thomas?
yes. So
Wait,
I think they
no, they
no.
did.
Did they? Uh,
You keep talking. I'm gonna pull up the draft
I
this year.
forget. Did he? Hold on. Pull it up because I
Like
forget.
that's bad. That they
Um, yeah. Look up their draft. So like Dallas coming off a bye, you'd like to think they're going to play a little bit better than they have been, but it's, Dalvin Cook is going to play if that makes any sort of difference. I don't know, like the Cowboys issues, I don't think a week off is going to help. Like I just find it hard to believe the Cowboys are ever going to have a week where things just look all put together. Like if they're going to win any games this year, I think it's all going to look like, if they're gonna win a game against a good team, it's gonna look like how they beat the Steelers, which was just like you felt like you got it gifted to you. You won because the other team was so incapable. It's kinda how the Eagles beat good teams last year. Like, they beat the Chiefs, and they played fine, but, you know, Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped what was, like, the game-winning touchdown at the end of the game, and the Eagles should have lost. The Eagles beat the Bills. They played well offensively, but Josh Allen and Gabe Davis were being on the same page away from just winning the game, and that game would have been over right then and there. Like, the good teams that the Eagles beat gifted them some things that allowed them to win last year, and I think the Cowboys are in a very similar situation where their hope to winning is which in this game is honestly decent has decent probability of happening, is like Brock Purdy gifting them a pick six and Trayvon Diggs runs one back, which I could totally see
I
something
mean,
like that
Trayvon Diggs looks
happening.
like he's cooked, dude.
He does, but listen, all he's gotta do is sit on a hook route or something and just jump it. Like if he can do anything, it's he can do that. The lack of fear with no McCaffrey really makes things listen, Brock Purdy's gonna have to you know, put on a Superman cape, which we've seen him struggle with all season, and I
You just
I'm
make it when you
only
say put on a Superman cape, you make it feel like one of those like little kids costumes. It's like Brock
yes,
Purdy today.
he Brock Purdy legitimately looks like a kid on a Spirit Halloween costume bag. Like that's what he actually looks like that. Um, I'm gonna take San Francisco though because I
Wow.
just I just think Dallas is just so bad, and like maybe today CeeDee Lamb has almost like 200 receiving yards and goes crazy or something like that, but I'm gonna need to I'll believe it when I see it, so I'm taking the Niners -5.
National Tight End Day. Got George Kittle and Ferguson getting tutties in this game. It's my
Mhm.
4 touchdown like National Tight End Day
Nice.
because that's the only healthy guy that can catch a pass that's decent on the
Yeah.
Niners. And Ferguson, I don't know Ferguson. I don't know the Cowboys like last year. Like Ferguson felt like he was like open almost every play this year. I don't know why they can't figure that out. I'm taking the Cowboys in this game, Michael.
Mhm.
Number one, how many times are they just going to lose to the Niners? Number one, so there's a big revenge factor here. Number two, it's looking a lot like Mike McCarthy's going to get canned. Now, are you picking the Niners because this is the game that everyone's going to point to as like the this is why McCarthy's getting canned?
Like, the Cowboys are 5-point underdogs, like, it's like Vegas is telling you that they don't believe in the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Like,
are we just
how
gonna watch Nick Bosa just like strangle Dak Prescott today? Like, is that what they're
maybe.
basically saying?
I kinda, like, that's kinda what they're
Like, dude,
telling me.
like this Niners defense isn't
They're
good.
t No, but they're telling me that, like, the Cowboys' offense is so incapable, and their lack of running game is their biggest reason for it. Like, CeeDee Lamb, I saw some interesting stats about why the Cowboys' offense is struggling, and it's that CeeDee Lamb is not as open as he was. Like, he had last year and the last couple of years, his, like, contested catch rate was significantly lower than, like, any other star receivers. Like, he was just wide open a lot, schemed open, play action getting him open, all that sort of stuff. And you look at it this year, and it's almost up, like, 20%. Like, he
Was he going
he's
through the motions or is he hurt?
no, I just think he's just covered. Like, it's their teams can key in on him more because they don't have to worry about any threat in the run game, and all the other receivers are really just not that inspiring that
Or what are we saying? Tony Pollard's the reason their offense is not good.
listen, Tony Pollard's having a great year with the Titans, and the Titans stink, and he's having a very, very nice year.
He's going to go
Tony
back. They're going to trade for him.
Tony Pollard, even though he, like, didn't look great last year, he was still capable, and his threat was still enough that clearly the Cowboys have become super one-dimensional in that regard, and
If I'm the Titans GM, I'm going to try to convince the corpse of
yeah, for
Jerry
sure.
Jones to trade a first for Tony Pollard to keep my job
Yeah,
after this disaster of this
yeah,
year.
so Lamb's not getting as much separation. It points to the fact that I've been feeling this whole time when everyone's saying how good CeeDee Lamb was. This is not for me to say that CeeDee Lamb is not great. He's an incredible receiver. But there are levels, and he is not on the same level as AJ Brown, as Justin Jefferson, as Jamar Chase. Like
Ooh,
that, and I fully believe that. And this is where it's showing me. Like it's showing me in these games now where everyone knows he's the guy and everyone knows he's the engine and there is no threat of anything else and he's just not having as dominant as a season as he's had in years past other than like some garbage time big plays when you're already getting blown out like against New Orleans or whatever. So, you know, it's just kind of what I'm seeing with them. And like the way that all plays out, it's looking to me like San Francisco will win tonight at like 24 to
that
like
Saints loss
10.
is aging like milk on 100-degree day.
Yeah, yeah.
How do
So I'm
you?
taking San Francisco. Where are you at?
I'm taking the Cowboys just because this is. I mean, I'm going with the revenge factor. I'm going with the fact that the Niners are just missing guys and like defensively, I just don't think they're that good. Like I'm not honestly, I'm truly very unsurprised or not whatever that a Brandon Staley coach defense just looks like crap. Like the
So you're
Steve Wilkes,
taking Dallas?
like the Steve Wilkes like blame everything on last season on Steve Wilkes like
Yeah, that was a bit
move
crazy.
is just aging that also aging like milk in a 100-degree day. Like This is what like just it's funny like both these organizations are just dysfunctional in different ways,
Mhm.
and that's why neither one can win anything.
So Dallas for John?
Taking Dallas, why
Yeah.
not? If the Cowboys honestly get blown out today, like Mike McCarthy should not be the coach tomorrow, in my opinion.
Mhm. All right, Monday night, we have the Steelers at home against the Giants. We all know the Giants' primetime numbers are atrocious. Daniel Jones, they actually get worse when he's at home, which, like, wow.
Yeah, but
I'm
he actually
taking,
throws touchdowns on the road. That's the
he does.
concerning
This,
part if you're betting the Steelers.
I am taking the Steelers in this game, -6. The Giants are putrid. They're very, very terrible. Offensively, they are just highly incapable, and the Steelers' defense is better than the Eagles' defense. In theory, it should play very, very well against what is a just brutal quarterback. Like, there wasn't many guys wide open all the time against the Giants that the Eagles had let up, but there were times. There were a few times that Malik Neighbors is literally pointing at receivers that are open. Malik Neighbors is drawing so much attention that there were open throws to be made, but Daniel Jones is just so like, I'm taking the check down that's not even really open, or I'm seeing the wide open guy late and I'm throwing it behind him anyways. And it's just, he's just terrible. So I'm taking the Steelers.
I'm taking the Steelers as well. I do feel like Russ's second half last week, you
It's
know,
very encouraging.
yeah, that's the best he's looked in like since he was like with Seattle in like
Seattle,
2020,
probably. Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. Um yeah, I can this is kind of where I could see like the Steelers having a big win and then they might trade for like Christian Kirk or someone to help Russ out. It's crazy how the dynamic of the Steelers changed from having Justin Fields and then bringing in um,
Russ.
Russ.
Hmm.
It's I think, but you saw like Tomlin. People were questioning, like people were like asking him that, and he's like,
Hmm.
"That's." He said something like, "That's why I get paid the big bucks." It was very Doc Rivers
Yeah,
ish
I saw it. That
with
was
how
kind of
he
funny.
acted afterwards. It was but I don't know. Tomlin's more likable than Glenn is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the Steelers. This Giants team is legit hot garbage. Um, they're gonna bring they gave Joe Shine
Joe
or
Shane.
whatever Joe
Shane.
Shane, and they also gave Dable the dreaded vote of confidence,
Yeah. Yeah.
which now I'm thinking I thought they would fire Dable at the end of the year. Now I'm kind of thinking they might just literally start completely from scratch after this season.
Unideal. Last game we have the Eagles game. Eagles on the road against the Bengals. Breaking news-ish that came through. T. Higgins suffered an injury during the week, and he is officially out for today's game. No T. Higgins for the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, Other than that, I don't think there are any other key injuries on either side. Eagles are 2.5 point underdogs, even with the T. Higgins news. I think they were planning on him not playing
Well, this is a
anyways.
must-win game for the Bengals.
Must-win game for the Bengals. They're at home. The Eagles looking like they're playing a bit better. I'm taking the Eagles +2.5. I think this is a huge spot for them to get like a really gritty road win. And we've been talking about it, and I've been talking about it that to me, this is a test. It's both sides of the ball are going to get tested, but for different, different ways, sort of thing. The defense, I'm more intrigued to just see how they play it, not necessarily if they succeed as much as if it's just like, are they going to sit back and just give up everything underneath, which is what they have not done the last 2 weeks, granted, against two of the worst quarterbacks in football. Now you're going up against Joe Burrow, a top quarterback, no T. Higgins, which is helpful, but Jamar Chase still a top flight receiver. Are
Well,
they
when you look
going
at
to
Jamar Chase, like,
sit back?
I asked somebody at work, I'm going to ask you this, Michael. Is the best wide receiver in football playing in today's game today? Yes or no?
No, it's Justin Jefferson.
No. Okay. Well, all right. Well,
The second best receiver, I think, is playing in today's game today, and I think it's A.J. Brown.
I was gonna say I think two of the top three receivers in football are playing today.
Yeah, I would say, like, 2 of the top 5.
You know,
Yeah, fair enough. Like,
I think with Jamar Chase though today, like he's obviously like a huge down the field receiver, and the whole point of this defense the Eagles run is to not give up huge chunk plays. Now, can Jamar Chase beat you underneath? Yeah,
absolutely, he can catch and run.
but are the Cincinnati Bengals smart enough to like figure that out? I don't know.
We'll see. Like, what I honestly, I'll tell you this right now. I would 1,000% take the Eagles playing aggressive and, like, potentially giving up, like, a 50-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase where it's like, "Damn, that sucked." I will take that happening once versus that never happening and Joe Burrow throws, like, 6 incompletions today because everything's just open underneath and they're sitting back, sitting back. So I'll be really intrigued to just see how the defense looks, and just how they come out and how they plan to strategize. The other side of the ball is the offense. Obviously, the first quarter woes have been strong and are continuing. They still haven't scored in the first quarter. I'd love for that to change today. I'd love an opening drive touchdown. They still are morons on opening drives and, like, are obsessed with trying to land a big play on the first drive. Um, it's still on third down, they're calling poor plays sometimes, like just vertical routes or just curl routes that don't get open, and there's nothing doing, and Hurts gets sacked, and it's just a nightmare. Um, Hurts missed a couple reads in the Giant game that were pretty bad. I some benefit of some sort of doubt, but it wasn't great. It was like he overcorrected too, and that compounded mistakes and led to a slippery slope. He looks good at some moments. He looks a little, missing a couple things here and there. Listen, if the defense is going to play aggressive, I think they have a shot to maybe limit the scoreboard a little bit. But what the offense is going to need to score points, and they should score a lot of points against what is a very, very bad Bengals defense. They are one of the worst defenses in the league against the run. So I expect another heavy dose of Saquon Barkley. I wouldn't be opposed either to some more Hertz design runs, like some Hertz power runs. Those work well.
Would
Um,
Can
but
would you like to
they
hear
need
some good
points.
news about the Eagles today? Or Eagles
Sure,
defense?
sure.
The last time um, the Bengals faced Vic Fangio's defense was in 2021 when he
Hmm.
was the head coach of the Broncos,
Broncos, yeah.
and they won. Now there was a road game, so they weren't obviously they were in Mile High, which is not an easy place to play.
Yeah.
It was 15-10 Bengals
Oh.
with the Bengals at like the
Oh.
height of their offensive powers.
Well, 2021 Bengals also was at the height of their defensive powers as well. Their defense was incredible in their Super Bowl run. We make the argument biggest reason they went to the Super Bowl was because of their defense. So the Bengals defense is not even close to what it was in 2021. Like, the Eagles should be able to score points. They need to be
I'm
able to
taking the
score points
Eagles
today.
today.
Yeah.
I think the big thing today is I think a lot of people I feel like every year there's a quarterback that gets an unreasonable amount of hate. I'm guilty of participating in it. I'm not like
Yeah, what was
obviously.
it? Like 2022, your hate was Lamar?
Yeah,
That
because he was
was
just like not good at
that
all.
was he also happened to be your fantasy quarterback, I think.
Well, last year he was, and it was like they would get to the 1 yard line, and then it was Gus Edwards siphoning touchdowns at an alarming rate. 18. He had like 18 touchdowns, bro. Like I don't think has he even played for the Chargers this year. Like very unserious behavior.
Anyways,
Anyway, and not notwithstanding, I think like I mean I'm trying to go through my head like 2021 like Kirk Cousins got a lot of hate like
I mean, like, Dak gets a lot of hate, which, like, say what you want.
well it's like Kirk, Dak,
2021,
Hurts
who
is
got a lot of
one.
hate as a quarterback? Like, Lamar had to have been the guy in 2021. I know he was banged up a lot, but he was getting
Like
Lamar. It was Lamar.
Lamar,
Lamar in 2021 because the
Josh
Ravens. Listen,
Allen last year got a lot of hate. Remember, everyone's like, "Oh,
yeah,
turnover boy,"
Josh Allen got a lot of hate last year. Lamar was
turnover
2021.
boy. I think Mahomes gets hate because he's the best quarterback, so people just don't like him by default.
No, but you're right. Like, and I get your point. You're good. You're leaning towards Jalen getting the hate this year.
So, but my point is, like, people like hate bet, like they're gonna hate bet
Hate that
on
hate
the
watch.
Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even after last week, like Jalen Hurts literally did not need to do anything for them to win. So what did the
Yes.
Eagles do? They don't let him do anything. Why risk it?
There wasn't. You were running the ball well. You didn't need to. Yeah.
We'll see. I think the Bengals are. They're gonna. I mean, here's the thing. I think AJ Brown's gonna have a monster day today. Here's my
Mhm.
reasons. One, the Bengals cornerbacks blow.
Yeah, they're not good.
And if you're gonna go and like AJ Brown is seen with the addition of Saquon Barkley, like an insane amount of one-on-ones with no safety help up top,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
No safety help. If you wanted to just have like just I don't know, like a vert route to like AJ Brown, like the first play of the game, like on a play action. I know we all bitched about the chunk plays. Just run that the first play and then just meticulously move the ball down the
Yeah,
field.
they made it a point to go under center last week. It worked, but they made it a serious point. They knew like the Eagles, they heard the noise, and they ran a lot of under center. They ran some Ben Van Summer in at fullback that actually sprung some nice runs. Did not know that he played like he did this in college. Like he was the like a linebacker fullback hybrid in college. So that's why he looks so comfortable doing it. He actually said he wished he could change his number. He asked the league to change his number, but apparently, I don't think you can during the season unless you like acquire a new player and the new player
Mm.
wants that number. But
Oh,
he wanted to change his number because at number 57, he has to report as eligible every time, as that's not like an
I
eligible
think this is also
number.
a huge statement for the Eagles offense today. I think too,
Yeah,
because in my opinion, because we all bitched, everyone's bitching that they beat the Browns and the Giants that both blow, but defensively they're both very good teams. I think,
yeah, they have strong suits on defense.
right?
It was,
This Bengals team is not in that class.
no, it would behoove the Eagles to score in the first quarter. Like they need a first drive touchdown in the worst way, and they need it to look pretty. And then, just keep doing what you've been doing for the most part the rest of the game. They still run their issues on third down, third and longs with their vertical routes and all that sort of crap. But their offense does rank very good in the rest of the game after like the first two drives or whatever it is. So I'd like to see that continue to get better. And yeah, I do think they're going to win. I think the Bengals. I think not having T Higgins is a massive loss for the Bengals. I really think that kills them. He's as Jamar Chase is the better receiver and is like the big whatever. T Higgins, especially this year, he's really trying to earn that contract.
Oh yeah, like I think you're gonna see they're
He's their
like
security
the
blanket. He's their bailout.
I think my concern is they're gonna like they're gonna put Jamar Chase on Slay. Slay's gonna do what he's been kind of been doing a lot, which is passing off guys in zone to like CJ Gardner Johnson, and then CJ Gardner Johnson's gonna either whiff on an open field tackle on Chase, fail to tackle him, he's gonna
Yeah,
bust an 80-yard
yeah,
touchdown.
yeah. But anyways,
Anyway, that's our show, everybody.
after reviewing John, every pick besides the Cowboy Niner game we have is the same. So
Wow, that's either gonna be really good or really
it could be really good or really bad. Last week we were very different, and last week one of us, you, did not have a good week.
No,
Um,
this is the first year I've been really bad with the
the
picks.
bad the picks. We were pretty good 2 weeks ago, both of us, but last week, John, you
That's a
definitely
good.
overthought. You
I
took a
know.
you took a beating, for sure. You were hate picking for sure. I'm looking at it again. You were hate picking.
Where are my hate picks?
You picked the Dolphins with Snoop Huntley to cover the 3 points against the Colts.
Oh,
That
because
was a hate.
I was just
That was a
hating
hate.
on
You were slandering Anthony Richardson, and that was a hate pick.
I
You like
mean,
you
yeah, because
hate
he's looks so great. Like, oh my god.
you hate picked against the Commanders against the Panthers, and the Panthers lost by about 45 points.
Well, what didn't it kind of look like in the beginning that like when
No, they threw a pick
Daniels get
six on the
injured,
first
you're like, oh
play.
my god, it's Mariota. Oh wow.
No, they threw a pick six on the first drive.
You know what? I hate picked against them with the purpose because I had streamed Ertz and the Commanders defense, and I'm thinking, hey, if I where this has no
You also,
monetary value
yeah, no,
whatsoever.
it doesn't have monetary value.
I was
You hate picked against the Chiefs. You know, that's a common practice. You hate picked against Kyler. That's also a common practice. Listen, Call of
we're
Duty.
hate picking against them today, aren't we?
Wait, listen. I'm guilty of the hate picks for sure, but it's just last week was a strong hate pick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we'll see.
Anyways, that's our show, everybody.
That's our show, everybody. Don't hate pick if you're gonna put money down, though.
No,
Just
if you're betting, do not hate bet.
unless you're like, I mean, I don't know.
Unless you're confident. Listen, I hate bet the entire NLCS, and it was a very profitable series for me.
I
So,
mean, if you want to hate bet like Pistons games on like Tobias Harris, like sure, go ahead. Like that's not
hey, we just I can't. Whatever. Anyway,
anyway.
I
To
can't believe
everybody,
we just
take
said
care. Have a
Tobias
good
Harris.
rest of your weekend.